Look, I was depressed. I I thought life wasn't worth living at some point, even though I had everything to live for, quote unquote, family, marriage, good work, and all that. And then I started asking, but it's interesting, I don't know if you've read Dante, The Inferno, but it begins with the classic lines, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, midway through life, I lost my way, and I don't know, I ended up on a dark path. It was fearful, he says, and he couldn't find his way back. And in order to redeem himself, what does he have to do? He has to go into inferno, and he has to go into hell. And he has to confront all the dark parts of himself before he can get to purgatory and then, heaven. So that happened to me midway through life, and I had to confront the internal hell that I was carrying, that I was generating. I don't know why. And I didn't know why. I thought this is just life. Because, of course, the life you lead is the only life you ever recall, unless you recall past lives, which I don't. My mind doesn't even go there. But then you realize that this hell that you're generating is coming from somewhere within yourself. And one of the first books I read was Alice Miller and her book, The Drama of the Gifted Child. The original German subtitle of which was Prisoners of Childhood. And she was saying that fundamentally we are all prisoners of our childhood. In other words, the dynamics that were imprinted in us early on in life end up forming a cage or a prison from which we have to liberate ourselves. And that was very illuminating to me. And so then I gradually began to liberate myself. It's a real process, and it's ongoing. I can't claim that I'm finished with it. I don't think I ever will be, which is perfectly okay. Sometimes people ask me, well, do you have to totally heal yourself before you become a therapist? And I said, oh my God, if that was the case, I wouldn't do any of the work that I'm doing. But the other thing people ask is it enough to understand things intellectually? And I said, my answer to that one is, if it was enough to understand things intellectually, then I would have been a perfect person decades ago. So on the one hand, it's never over, but on the other hand, intellectual awareness is far from sufficient. So as I'm sure many of you know, we have to really work it through all our emotions in our bodies, not just our intellects. And that's an ongoing process. From the point of view of those of you that are therapists, you have to ask yourself, well, what is my goal as a therapist? And I teach my students, you have two goals. One is for yourself, and that's to get yourself fired as soon as possible for the right reason. That means that you want your client to get to the point where they can be comfortable with their authentic selves in the present moment. So they're no longer a prisoner of their childhoods. But in order to do that, they have to see themselves clearly. Now, for people to see themselves clearly, try this as an experiment. How can you see your face clearly? Unless you're having a deep spiritual experience, which is beyond words and beyond cognition, such as I've never had, you can't see your face clearly without a mirror. It's very hard for us to see ourselves clearly without a mirror. And guess what? When people come to you, they're coming to you because they want to see themselves in a mirror. They want to see their true selves. If they could see their true selves, they would not be needing to see you. So they need to see themselves clearly. But for you to be able to be that mirror, guess what? You have to be clear. That's why the most important work we ever do is on ourselves. And that's why it has to be ongoing.